The boy was washing cars to help his sick father save up for an operation. But he was surprised when he saw his father, who was suffering from a disability, get out of a luxurious car. A boy named Aaron lived with his father, Faust. Their life was never rich or luxurious. They did not indulge in extravagance or bathe in gold. On the contrary, they led a very ordinary life. After all, it was just the two of them, a son and his father, a man and a boy, who simply enjoyed each day and every moment spent together. They didn't expect help from anyone. They only had each other. Why was that? Faust was confined to a wheelchair for the rest of his days, as per the doctor's prognosis from the clinic. He had suffered a severe spinal fracture due to an unfortunate incident. There was a chance of recovery, though slim, but there was still a chance. The boy didn't complain about his life. Unfortunately, he had lost his mother forever, as she died in a car accident, after which his father lost the ability to walk. Faust and Aaron had other relatives, of course. But did they need them? The people who were truly their family didn't need them. Due to unfortunate circumstances, they became unwanted by everyone. Father and son hardly communicated with their relatives. In fact, they never did. Consequently, there was no point in expecting help from them. Faust and Aaron didn't ask, and no one remembered them. This was the norm. They had no other relatives, so to speak. Everyone was alive, but they didn't communicate. Some blamed the husband for the woman's death, others thought they were never a good couple. These strange disagreements, unfortunately, eventually led to isolation, pushing the newlyweds out of the family circle. Among all the relatives, there was no one to turn to for help. What could they do? They had to cope on their own. The parents of Faust's deceased wife and Aaron's mother, Clara, truly believed that Faust was to blame for her death. Only he and no one else. It didn't matter that he was not at fault, that he grieved deeply over the tragic event. They didn't care that Faust was left alone with a child, drowning in endless sorrow and darkness. They were indifferent to the fact that he became disabled and lost the ability to walk. They also didn't care about the conditions in which the two had to live. They never liked the man even when their daughter was alive. Constant reproaches, eloquent and dissatisfied remarks at gatherings, baseless accusations, and questions. Why did you decide to tie your life to him? Darling, what can that nobody Faust give you? He's nobody. Even less than nobody, just nothing. Is this the life you want? Eating canned food, or rather slops, and some backwater and regretting your choice for the rest of your days. When will you divorce him? How could you marry him, hiding it from us? He's a real monster with 5 kopecks in his pocket. Stop ruining your young life. Why are you ruining your life and ours? People look at us askance. Everyone thinks we don't love you at all. We raised you not for such a marriage. We always wanted to marry you off to a noble and wealthy man. The parents of the deceased girl were indeed wealthy, and therefore, they had many acquaintances with noble and beautiful people who, of course, couldn't hold a candle to Faust. But most of them were nothing more than a pretty shell with an empty core. But Clara was far from that. Her soul was full and peaceful. She never looked down on anyone. She didn't even like making friends when she lived in her parents' house. She had only one friend, who was very much like Clara. She also treated all people equally, without arrogance. And Faust himself was far from being ugly. On the contrary, he was quite a handsome man. But there was one thing that troubled her arrogant parents: he was not wealthy. The parents couldn't accept that their daughter loved a man with an average salary, without his own fortune, without a higher education, and without a solid foundation. And when Clara became pregnant, a very loud scandal erupted, so much so that the poor girl almost had a miscarriage. "Tomorrow you will go and have an abortion," said the girl's mother calmly, taking a sip of coffee as if nothing had happened. "Mom, are you out of your mind?" exclaimed the girl. "I don't think it's your business." "Don't be rude to your mother, and do as you're told," said the father, raising his voice slightly. "Do you hear yourselves? What are you even talking about? You want Me to kill my own child? Clara shouted. To kill your grandchild? First of all, my dear, lower your tone. And secondly, it's not a child yet. It's just a bunch of cells, that's all. Exclaimed the father. At least for now. God forbid they start developing. And thirdly, it's definitely not our grandchild. Moreover, a bunch of cells from whom? From that pauper. God, Clara, when did you become like this? Her mother's voice was filled with disgust. Like what, Mom? Clara shouted. When did you start loving such a worthless, poverty-stricken life? The woman spat through her teeth. I just genuinely loved a person. Should I be punished for that? Am I not allowed to have any feelings, according to you? You can't love someone like him. Enough. Faust shouted. This is our child. This is our decision and our future. He embraced his wife. This is our home and our life. Clara shouldn't be stressed. So I ask you to leave, right now. I'm out of strength. Deal with them yourself. Screamed the woman and left the room, slamming the door behind her. Here's the deal, we will not accept this child. Either you have an abortion or never show up with it at our doorstep. I'll throw it out the window from the second floor. So either get rid of it or don't you dare bring it here. It will be the first thing to fly out the window. Why are you saying such horrible things? Clara asked, crying in shock. Both of you. What does it mean to throw out the window? Are you serious? What did Faust and the unborn baby do to you? So now we're the bad ones? We gave you life, raised you all this time. We put all our efforts into you, gave you everything we had. And what did it lead to? How did you thank us? Why do I always have to do everything the way you want? In your house, I never had my own opinion. You are tyrants, not people. It's impossible to live with you. It's impossible to breathe with you. One can only exist and be afraid to breathe extra. Maybe so, but we love you, believe me. Someday you will understand this, but it will be too late. Too late, shouted the father. We only want to protect you from mistakes. Why can't you understand that? Go away, Clara screamed. Get out. She broke free from Faust's embrace and fell into a real hysteria. Cry, cry. Maybe you'll have a miscarriage. Clara froze in place. She tried to understand if what was happening was real. Her parents literally wanted her to have an abortion. No, this is a mistake. Her father couldn't have said that. He could talk about a planned abortion, but a miscarriage? A circumstance where his daughter would bleed and be unable to do anything? Unfortunately, Clara didn't mishear. Her father did say that phrase. However, she noticed the fear in his eyes immediately. Perhaps he realized his mistake right away. Maybe he really understood that he went too far, but he did not apologize. I'm leaving. Stay in this pigsty, my dears. Her father also slammed the door of their house, leaving behind only anger, longing, resentment, and disgust. It was even terrible to be here now. Clara fell to her knees and began to cry harder than ever. Faust comforted her for a long time that day. Fortunately, the child wasn't harmed that evening and remained alive. But there were very bitter and long tears, endless hysteria, and the hateful realization that they were indeed her parents. Faust's parents were also against such a marriage, especially his father, who always called Clara an unsuitable daughter-in-law. Moreover, Faust was 7 years older than Clara, which primarily displeased his father. Surprisingly, Clara's parents didn't care about this factor. They were only concerned with the amount of money in his pocket. She comes from a very rich family. Have you seen her parents? Have you seen how they always act superior? How they treat people like us? Faust's father constantly told his son. You definitely don't need people like them. Such people are usually rotten inside. They are the real hypocrites. Mark my words. And don't bring their child here. We will never accept it. I don't know about your mother, but don't come to me anymore. From now on, I don't have a son. It seems I never did. 10 years have passed since then. Aaron was 5 when his mother died. He was deeply affected by her death. He understood that now he would never hear her dear and tender voice, never hug her or give her his drawings filled with love. She would never tell him a bedtime story or feed him delicious food. Everything disappeared in one day and turned to dust, leaving only short memories that would forever remain in the beautiful past. That accident greatly affected the boy's life, but he always looked at his father. If he, confined to a wheelchair, continued to enjoy life and cope with all adversities, then a healthy boy had no reason to be sad. They had a roof over their heads, food, clothes. The rest would come in time. Being a 9-year-old child, the boy wasn't even a teenager. Aaron almost never saw Clara's parents. For him, it was better this way. It was unknown how much undeserved filth could have been poured on the poor child, just for daring to be born. Soon it would be his cherished birthday. A round date called 10 years. A great joy for Aaron, and even more so for his father. Faust loved his son very much and rejoiced at every joy the child experienced. At times, life was tough for the two of them. Sometimes there wasn't enough money, sometimes there wasn't enough food. But they lived very well. Complete harmony, mutual understanding, and familial love always existed between them. They rarely quarreled, and if they did, it was over trivial matters. They didn't always have enough money for new clothes, good appliances, and their apartment needed repairs. But that's how it was. They had to repay the loan Faust took out to organize Clara's funeral from his disability pension and modest earnings. Faust's earnings came from one job. He had his own small business. The wheelchair didn't hinder him at all. He was excellent at stitching shoes, restoring them to a decent condition, and returning them to satisfied customers, most of whom were grateful for the golden hands of the shoemaker. Despite not being able to walk, Faust continued to work. He had his own business, repairing shoes. His clients were always pleased with his work due to his skilled hands. Aaron never complained about his life. Yes, sometimes it was hard, and yes, he lost his mother early. But what difference did it make? It could always be worse. He wasn't at all embarrassed by his father's illness. The boy knew that his dad was holding up well. Faust never despaired. Sometimes, he was deeply saddened by his loss, but he still had a piece of his love, their son. Aaron never complained about his life. Yes, they lacked money, and yes, it was tough, but it could be worse. He was proud of his father's resilience and his ability to stay positive even in the most challenging situations. Of course, he noticed how Faust got sad remembering his beloved Clara, but the boy understood how much his father loved him, constantly feeling his care, love, and strength. Faust often liked to tell his son that everything comes in due time, everything happens when the right moment arrives. Sooner or later, it happens. It always comes, my boy. It just takes time. After paying off the loan, things would become much easier, and they could finally save money for the surgery that was supposed to get Faust back on his feet. Dad, I know for sure that you will get back on your feet. It will definitely happen, Aaron said to his father one morning. The boy was still very young, but sometimes it seemed that he was already an adult. His words, thoughts, and reflections didn't match his age. One day you will walk again and stand on your own feet. Even if it doesn't happen soon, even if it takes time, Aaron continued. Of course, son, I will stand. And we'll play football together, go on daily walks, take long hikes, and go fishing in the mornings. Everything will be fine. We just have to believe. And of course, run in the mornings, Aaron smiled. Yes. How could we do without runs? Faust agreed. The weather is so wonderful today. Indeed, Faust replied, looking out the window. The sun is shining, and the birds are singing. Listening to the birds' bright song, Aaron wanted to say something. He had been thinking about his decision for several nights and finally made up his mind like adults do, decisively and irrevocably. "Dad," the boy said. Faust responded, also looking out the window. "I have an idea." "Oh?" Faust was already interested. He turned his wheelchair fully towards his son. "I've been thinking about it for a few days, sometimes at night. Falling asleep, I imagined something. I imagined and felt happy." "And what is it?" the man asked impatiently. "Well, how would you react if I started helping you?" "In what sense?" "Son, you're already doing great. You help around the house, help me, and I mean something else. I want to find another job." Faust was a bit taken aback. Surely he didn't expect to hear such a thing on a regular hot morning from his still young son. Perhaps thoughts raced through his mind about when his son had become so grown up. He was only 9 years old, and he was already thinking about a part-time job? This isn't the childhood a boy should have. "Son, are you sure?" "I think." "Yes, Dad, I'm sure," Aaron replied decisively again. "It's not necessary," his father said quietly. "It is. You've really surprised me, Aaron. Not just a little, but a lot. You've surprised me a lot." The boy started to laugh. "I've thought about it. If I find another job, we'll have a bit more money. And that means you can get back on your feet even faster. Walk on your own again. Isn't that great? What kind of things does a little boy have to think about? Working at 9 years old. That's not right. It shouldn't be this way." Faust remembered himself at about the same age. His determination back then was clearly different from his son's character. This amazed the man. He couldn't believe that his little boy had become so responsible and grown up. "Of course, my boy, of course, it's great. Come here, let me hug you." Aaron hugged his father. "But I think it's not necessary. You're still too young and should enjoy your life, your childhood. You'll never get this time back." "Dad, I won't work a lot. Just a little, and it'll be more help." "Okay. Do you have any plans on where you want to go? What do you want to do?" "Yes, but I'll find out tomorrow. It'll be my little surprise," Aaron smiled again. "Little intriguer. Okay, son, I'll wait until tomorrow." The next day, the boy came home just before lunch. "Aaron, hi. Lunch is ready," his father shouted from the kitchen. "Go wash your hands and come straight to the table." But Aaron, without washing his hands, went straight to the kitchen. His mood was very joyful. "Hi, Dad," he hugged his father. "Did you wash your hands?" "Wait," Aaron replied. "I found out that the central bridge in our city is being repaired." "Yes, I heard about it too, or read it in the newspaper. Did I understand you correctly, son? You want to work there?" "Yes, it would be great. If only without heavy loads," his father reluctantly said. "I saw that the road is being repaired in sections, and because of this, they have one-lane traffic on the bridge. So there are constant traffic jams. I asked one of the workers if they needed my help. He looked at me strangely and then took me to his boss, and he offered me a job." "And what will you do?" "Clean the windows of different cars that will be driving on the bridge. They'll give me cleaning supplies, gloves, and a cloth." "Oh, that's great," Faust replied. "I hope it's not for long." "Not at all, I can clean as many cars as I want. My little cleaner, come here." Faust hugged his son tightly once more. Then Aaron finally went to wash his hands, and they started their delicious meal. The next morning, the boy quickly had breakfast, wished his father a good day, and went off to his first job. There, he was given a cloth and cleaning solution, and he eagerly began his new duties. The frail Aaron in his worn-out clothes immediately started to evoke sympathy from the drivers, so on his very first day, he managed to earn a decent amount. Despite his tall stature, his thinness was even more noticeable. He didn't look like someone suffering from anorexia, but he was definitely underweight by a couple of kilograms. In the following days, the situation remained the same. Women drivers, in particular, were very generous, paying much more for window cleaning. Sometimes, the boy would specifically look for female drivers in the crowd, and there were quite a few of them. About 2 weeks passed. Many drivers felt sorry for the boy. One day, he happened to meet a very kind-hearted young woman. She looked to be around 30 years old. She smelled pleasantly of vanilla, and at the end of the job, she treated the boy to candies and left him a substantial amount of money. As usual, Aaron started his duty, and they began talking. The boy felt hope for a bright future reawakening in his soul. "So young, and you're already working?" the woman asked, sweetly surprised. "Yes, I really like this job," Aaron replied cheerfully. "It's not hard at all." "But why are you working at such a young age?" "How old are you?" she asked. "I'll be 10 soon," the boy replied proudly. "Oh, a milestone birthday. So, it will be an anniversary," she smiled. "Yes, you're right," Aaron nodded. "That's wonderful," she exclaimed. "But what's the reason?" she asked again. "The reason is simple," the boy said. "I just want to help my dad get back on his feet." The woman's face immediately saddened. She must have felt sorry for the boy. It saddened her that the child sincerely wanted to help his father in any way he could and that life circumstances had forced him to work at the age of 9. "Doesn't anyone else help you?" she asked quietly. "No," the boy replied with regret. "In our family, it turned out that we are not needed by our relatives. I don't know why. My dad and I never wished them harm. But still, they don't love us. I don't even know if they ever did." "What sad things you are telling me, little cleaner. But I think their actions are unjustified, and you and your dad are really good people." "I am completely sure of that," the stranger said, smiling. "So, you will succeed. Not all children your age are ready to go to work on their own. You are very brave, making a conscious decision like a real adult. I am very proud of you, even though I see you for the first time." "Thank you very much," little Aaron blushed. "It's nice to hear such words. What's your name?" "Catherine, and yours?" "Aaron." "Aaron. A beautiful name. Here, have some more candies, and this," Catherine handed the boy a few more bills. "Oh, you paid so much. Maybe you shouldn't have?" "For a good person, nothing is too much," the woman said. "Thank you." The boy thanked her again. "No, thank you. You cleaned the windows so well. They shine, and there are no streaks. I tried my best. I'll be passing by here more often. You know, not even all adults are so diligent about their work. And I somehow feel that you have a great future ahead, Aaron. Do you have a dream?" "So far, only one, for my dad to walk again." "And besides that? What would you want most in the world?" "Probably, that's my biggest dream. Always believe in miracles, Aaron, and it will definitely happen. Maybe very soon." "I hope so. I really hope so. People like you often have their dreams come true," Catherine said. "Everything will be all right." "Thank you. You know, I'll tell you something else. When I was little, about your age, I also had a personal dream. Maybe not as grand as yours. But I sincerely believed that one day it would come true. Every day I told myself that today it would happen. About a month passed, and I even started to think it would never happen. But suddenly, completely unexpectedly, when I wasn't thinking about my dream, it came true. So, when you think about something else, this dream can come true by itself. I'm not saying you should stop believing in a miracle. Just don't fixate on it. The best things happen when you least expect them. That day, when I came home, my thoughts were far from that dream. I was thinking about a boy I liked," Catherine finished. "That's even better, in my opinion. When you don't expect it, and it happens by itself," Aaron agreed. Of course, little cleaner. The joy is twice as much, and the emotions even more. I understand. Now I won't fixate on it so much. And maybe it will happen. And I won't even suspect it, the boy said. Yes, you are right, the woman nodded. So, what was your dream? The boy asked. If it's not a secret, of course. I dreamed of being given a pet. One day I came home and saw a fluffy white kitten, just like I had dreamed of, Catherine said. And now, I have to go, she added. Goodbye, Catherine, Aaron smiled. Goodbye, Aaron, Catherine smiled back and waved. I hope we meet again. There was a feeling of complete calm and faith emanating from this stranger. Being around her was strange and comforting. Thanks to meeting her, Aaron once again believed that his father would walk again. The little boy believed in his big dream, but without constantly replaying these thoughts in his head. He knew it would happen, but he didn't know when exactly. After finishing cleaning the car windows, the boy, as usual, went to play with his friends. Aaron had 2 friends, and he loved spending his free time with them. His part-time job never interfered with his personal activities. There was always time for studying, walking, and for his father. Aaron was free. He could come to clean windows, or he could not. He wasn't held there with tight hands. He was still very young. When the boy came to work, there were no time restrictions. He was simply allowed to work as long as he could. Another 2 weeks passed. Money slowly accumulated, which, in turn, made the boy happy. Moreover, his birthday, the most cherished holiday, was approaching soon. On Monday, the 3rd, the boy once again decided to go to his part-time job. His father, as always, wished him a good day and reminded him not to overwork. Aaron hugged Faust and left the house. There were surprisingly few cars on the bridge today, even though it was a weekday. After finishing cleaning another window and getting paid, the boy saw his friends approaching him. Aaron, shouted Victor. Oh, hello, Victor, the boy greeted his friend joyfully. We came to get you, let's go for a walk, said Victor. Yes, we have something to show you, said the second friend, named Pablo. And what is it? Aaron asked, now fully interested. Did you find another frog? No, Aaron. What frog? This is much more interesting, said Victor. Well, tell me quickly. I'm dying to know. Or should I guess myself? Finally, they've opened that very shop in the city center, exclaimed Victor. That one, the boy exclaimed. Are you joking? Why would we joke about this? They were talking about an antique shop that the 3 friends had been eagerly waiting to open. There, they could examine many artifacts and interesting things from the past. Yes. It opened an hour ago. What? And you're only telling me now? You don't know how fast we ran, said Pablo. Let's go quickly, said Aaron. But let's stop by the store on the way and get something to drink. It's unbearably hot today, said Pablo. The sun is scorching. Yes, let's, agreed Aaron. Entering the store on the way to the shop, the boys bought a bottle of sweet soda and continued on. I wonder what kind of things will be in this shop, asked Pablo. I don't know, but I'm already eagerly waiting to see them, replied Victor. Aaron, are you sure you can just leave your part-time job like this? Yes, of course. We'll go to the shop with you, and then I can go back. Nothing will happen because of it. That's great, said Pablo. Do they pay you a lot there? Asked Victor. Enough. As the boys crossed the road to the next street, Aaron decided to take a sip of the tasty drink, but a small mishap occurred. The liquid spilled right onto his shirt. I just washed it yesterday. What bad luck, said Aaron. And the stain isn't small, said Victor, looking at the fabric. Maybe you should quickly run home? No, it's fine. I want to get to the shop already. All right, replied the boy. But that wasn't all. After a few more meters, something else happened. Besides the stain being large, it also dyed the fabric in the color of the soda. Moreover, the shirt began to stick to his skin. "Oh, what's happening?" exclaimed Pablo. A persistent wasp started flying around Aaron and wouldn't leave him alone. "It looks like you really need to go home," said Victor. "Yes, and change your shirt, or those annoying wasps won't leave you alone," agreed Pablo. "A bee is here now too," screamed the boy. All right. I'll go home and change this shirt," said Aaron. "Okay, we'll wait for you at the shop then," replied Victor. "But hurry." "Of course. I'll be quick," said Aaron. "I think it won't close." The boy ran home. The wasps and bees finally stopped bothering little Aaron, but it was still unpleasant to stay in the shirt. It really created an uncomfortable and sticky feeling. Finally reaching the street where his house was, Aaron saw something unusual. A very expensive black car was parked right next to the back door of the house he and his father lived in. "What is this? Why is there a car here? Moreover, such a luxurious car. This is very strange," Aaron thought to himself. The boy rarely saw such cars in his young life. Most of them were in various advertisements shown on TV. Some of their neighbors, of course, lived in great wealth, but even they couldn't afford a car of this level. It was too exquisite. The car was indeed too luxurious. Not a single dirty spot on the windows. They reflected the light. The car seemed so clean and new, as if it had just been taken from the showroom. At that very moment, when the boy decided to stop, the car door began to open. "What is this?" the boy quietly said. "Is this a dream?" He pinched himself. "This is definitely a dream, no other way," the boy continued his monologue. Right before little Aaron's eyes, his father got out of the car. It was clearly the figure of a man. A man who was always confined to a wheelchair and couldn't stand without help. And now, there was no wheelchair in sight. The man was standing on his own. But this couldn't be possible. It must be a long dream that the boy was having while deeply asleep. But was he really asleep? How is this possible? The boy kept asking himself. Too bad no one could answer him. Aaron walked closer. Now he was standing right next to the very expensive car. "Dad," the boy said. Faust froze instantly and turned his head towards his son. He looked very guilty. He awkwardly gazed at his son but suddenly said, "Aaron, I need to tell you something." "But how?" Aaron murmured. "Let's go inside, son," the man replied calmly. "Let's go." More people got out of the car. They were an unfamiliar man and woman. The boy didn't understand anything anymore. Who were these people? Why was his father standing? Where was his wheelchair? Was this really not a dream? And what about the luxurious car that looked so elegant? Aaron just stood there, frozen in one place. Come on, my boy. We have a lot to tell you." As if hypnotized, the boy went inside. Faust and the unfamiliar couple sat at the kitchen table, and the boy followed them. "Aaron, meet your Uncle Calvin and his wife Anna." "Uncle? So he's my relative." "A real relative?" the boy asked in surprise. "Yes," nodded Faust. "But why didn't he come to visit us before? Where did he come from?" "Because I never knew about you," the man, who turned out to be his real uncle, answered with regret. "My dear ones, fate played a cruel joke on us." "Is that possible?" "Unfortunately, yes." "But how?" "Your legs," the boy said quietly. "How are you walking?" "I don't understand." "I don't understand anything." "What's happening?" "Thanks to my brother and your uncle, I can walk again. Walk independently. Of course, not as steadily as I'd like, but that's only for now." "Is he a magician?" "No, but I managed to do something for my brother," said Calvin. "And I'm very grateful to you, Calvin," Faust smiled. The adults were completely calm, but the boy, on the contrary, was too excited. He still didn't understand what was happening here. "But to be honest, we are somewhat to blame. Our fault lies in the fact that you knew nothing. We regret it, but it was necessary. Necessary? I found out about everything completely by accident, the boy shouted, getting up from the table. And if I hadn't gone home at that moment, I would have never known. Aaron, wait. It was all for the sake of a surprise. A surprise? The boy asked in confusion. A surprise. Of course, Faust smiled. Who has a birthday coming up soon and is turning 10 years old? Me, Aaron smiled. He calmed down and sat back on the chair. Your father wanted to make a little surprise for your milestone birthday. Waking up in the morning, you would have seen something. Seen your dad standing on his feet again, said Calvin. Son, it wasn't as bad as we thought, said Faust. I didn't have a spinal injury, he continued. But how is that possible? Our doctor said there was definitely an injury. Dad broke it in that terrible accident, exclaimed Aaron. That doctor was a very bad person, said Calvin. Very bad. This surgeon just wanted to earn money dishonestly. It turns out that in that accident your dad only got a bruise. Yes, it was very serious, but it wasn't a fracture. And then another, no less important problem appeared. Faust developed neuropathy. Neuropathy is... Yes, I know. It's nerve damage, said Aaron. Calvin was surprised. He's a smart one, Faust smiled. You are indeed right, Aaron, his uncle continued. Neuropathy was triggered by other factors too. Stress, constant grief, my personal worries, said Faust, sighing. And also nerve starvation, added Calvin. Faust nodded sadly. That doctor is a rare scoundrel, Calvin said, lighting a cigarette. Well, Calvin, there's a child here, his wife said. Sorry, but it's true. He wanted to give the treatment that was really necessary for my brother. But only in the postoperative period. He's a real barbarian. I hope he will get what he deserves in the future because such behavior is impossible. Simply unacceptable. And I want to believe that he will never be allowed near patients again and will be kicked out of the hospital forever, Calvin continued. How can such people exist? He will definitely get his due, said Faust. You see, a single father was the best option for him to profit from. Such scoundrels only prey on the weaker ones. Calvin. All right, fine. Okay, dear. I'm done. Aaron smiled at this scene. I hope he really stops working. He's a very terrible person, said the boy. Of course. Everyone knows about him now. At first, your dad refused our help outright. But we convinced him, of course. Faust refused full support because he's very stubborn. By the way, we're very similar in that, said Calvin. So, what happened next? Faust agreed to undergo treatment. I diligently drove him to all the procedures. The treatment yielded great results, and now the patient hardly stumbles when walking. But the doctors gave poor predictions regarding the sensitivity of his toes. Overall, this was the last thing that worried the family. The main thing is that he can walk like before. But how did it turn out that you didn't know about us? The boy then asked. That's another unclear and sad story, Calvin replied. I not only didn't know about my brother and you, but also about other relatives. And this happened because I was born not in that marriage. But that's a completely different story. Someday I'll tell you. But the main thing is that you found out about us, said Aaron. And that's great. Very. Indeed, Calvin agreed. And also, I wanted to say that you have a very beautiful car. Calvin and Anna smiled. Thank you, Aaron, the man answered with a bit of pride. At first, I didn't believe it was really here. It seemed to me that it was all a very long dream. It even feels like I'm dreaming now. Aaron pinched himself on the arm again. No, son. This is not a dream. It's my dream come true, the boy continued. A big dream. Your father just wanted to make a little surprise for your milestone birthday. Waking up in the morning, you would have seen something. Seen your dad standing on his feet again, said Calvin. So, I ruined your surprise, said the boy. It's okay, son. And sorry once again that it all turned out this way. Dad, it's okay, you don't need to apologize. The main thing is that you can walk. It's such a big gift. And it doesn't matter when it was made, on my birthday or not. Aaron smiled and hugged his father. At that moment, Faust stood up from the table. He awkwardly held onto the edge of the table, but the main thing was that he was standing. Of course, he still swayed a little, but he was almost standing on his own. Standing again. It's so unusual and pleasant to see you standing. It's so wonderful, said the boy. Faust smiled again. Then, Aaron looked at his uncle and his wife. And you look so much like my dad, the boy said, looking at Calvin. It's like you have the same face. The resemblance is amazing. Calvin smiled. Just look a bit older. It's very sad that you didn't know about us. I'm also very sorry, Aaron. But the main thing is that I found out about you at all, otherwise, even that might not have happened. I agree, the boy replied. And you are very beautiful, he said, looking at Anna. Anna couldn't hold back her tenderness all this time. Now she smiled even more warmly from the entire scene, the reunion of two brothers, the hugs of the boy and his father, who could stand on his feet, and their overall joy. It seems to me that this day will be one of the happiest, she said. All I had to do was spill soda on myself, and I found out something. I found out the best thing that's happened recently. So, if it weren't for that stain, you wouldn't have come home, asked the father, looking at the t-shirt. No, I would have gone to the antique shop, the boy replied. Everything happens for a reason, my boy. If you accidentally spilled soda on your t-shirt, it means it was meant to happen, said the father. Aaron suddenly remembered the wonderful woman from the bridge. She insisted that a miracle would happen very quickly if you don't focus on it. That good people always have it happen. It seemed to be true. The boy wasn't thinking about his big dream at all when he went to change his t-shirt. And the miracle happened on its own, just as he entered the house, like Catherine. Let's play Mom's favorite song. And it will be like she's here with us, he said. All three smiled at the boy's suggestion. And by the way, Dad, let's get a cat, the boy suddenly said. A cat? Faust was surprised. Yes. A fluffy white one. I think we just have to get one. Okay, Aaron. We'll get a cat, the man smiled. I've been thinking about it for a long time. To the sound of music, they all fell silent, enjoying yet another moment of life. The adults had only the best intentions, not considering that such secrecy could hurt the child. They believed that sharing the news of healing and finding a new family member in one day was a good idea. And now, because of some soda, Aaron was filled with complete confidence in tomorrow. He had gained a significant addition to his family with his father. It might not have been part of the adult's plan, but the boy still had his happiest day. Calvin invited his beautiful wife to dance, while father and son just listened to the beautiful song. Their personal song. When Clara was still alive, the three of them often danced together. Father, mother, and son would have fun in their living room. On those days, she would bake something delicious. Even without all their relatives, they felt great. They were happy as a trio. And on this day, the third, a Monday, she was with them. She was in their hearts. And of course, she remained forever in their memories and thoughts. She was the unseen fifth person in that room. Now, all four of them could go on their personal nature outings. Father and son could take morning walks and play soccer. The wheelchair was no longer needed. How many wonderful places could they see, traveling with two relatives? It seems miracles do happen if you don't think about them constantly. Dear viewers, if you enjoyed the story, please support the video by liking it and leaving a comment. Thank you very much.